In 1923, a group of baptized believers in Christ met above the Owl Theater, located 4653 South State Street in Chicago, Illinois, and organized True Light Baptist Church. Reverend Charity became the first pastor. He was succeeded by Reverend James Hubbard.
In the early 30s, True Light moved to 4502 South Dearborn and was under new leadership. Reverend E.J. Cole merged his congregation with True Light's. His son, Nathaniel, was the pianist and was later known as the famous entertainer Nat King Cole. In the late 30s, God sent Reverend Cole to pastor another congregation, and a short time later, True Light received Reverend W.D. Kilgore as pastor. In 1944, True Light welcomed Reverend B.F. Paxton as pastor. This pastoral assignment proved to be quite significant. Reverend Paxton was True Light's longest-serving pastor, serving 36 years. A live broadcast was aired from the church sanctuary on Sunday evenings.
Reverend Paxton's famous broadcast opening was, "He was not that light, but was sent to bear witness of that light, which was the true light that lighted the path of everyone who cometh into the world."
A sad note in our history was in September 1974 when fire partially destroyed our beautiful church structure. Worship services continued until January 1975 when True Light relocated to 7300 South Maryland Avenue. Under Reverend Paxton's leadership, all debts were resolved as of June 1st, 1980, and the mortgage was burned. Reverend Paxton incorporated the church and changed the name to True Light Church Baptist.
Reverend Paxton served God and his people until his death on September 18, 1980. He removed his earthly robe and donned his heavenly robe to be with the Lord. Prior to his transition, he expressed his desire and recommendation that Reverend A. Harold White become the next pastor of True Light. In November 1980, True Light accepted the will of God and Dr. Paxton's recommendation and called Reverend A. Harold White as pastor.
Reverend White continued in the footsteps of the previous leaders by taking True Light to yet higher heights. Led by God, Reverend A. Harold White was elevated to senior pastor in November 2002. Reverend White made it clear that this elevation was only from pastoring, for he would never retire from preaching, and he was indeed one of God's best. True Light considered Reverend White's recommendation and elected Reverend LaRue Franklin Kidd as pastor, which has now resulted in 78 years of continuous pastoral leadership.
True Light provided training for many soldiers of Christ who were allowed to exercise their spiritual gifts of gospel preaching and music.
Those such as Reverend James Cleveland,
Reverend Jesse Dixon,
Reverend Macy Woods,
Reverend Charles Fairchild,
Sister Doris Sykes, and so many more.